Hello, I'm here to cover an introduction over the United States of America's political system. Let's begin. The United States of America is referred to as a democratic republic. To ensure a separation of powers, the U.S. federal government is made up of three branches. Those three branches are the legislative, executive, and judicial branch. To ensure the government is effective and the citizens' rights are protected, each branch has its own powers and responsibilities, including working with the other branches. The United States Constitution provides for a system of checks and balances for the U.S. government through its three branches. The Constitution gives specific abilities to each of these three branches. The concept is to ensure that no one section of the government obtains too much power. By law, there is a definitive separation of powers amongst these three branches. Let's go over the legislative branch. Article 1 of the Constitution establishes the legislative part of our government, which is called the Congress. Congress makes our laws. Congress is divided into two parts. One part is called the Senate. There are 100 senators, 2 from each of our 50 states. Another part is called the House of Representatives. Representatives meet together to discuss ideas and decide if these ideas or bills should become law. Both senators and representatives are elected by the eligible voters in their states. Among other powers, the legislative branch makes all laws, declares war, regulates interstate and foreign commerce, and controls taxing and spending policies. The checks and balances of the executive branch, which is fielded by the legislative branch, can override a presidential veto with a 2/3 majority vote in both the Senate and House. The legislative branch is responsible for confirming executive appointments, and the legislative branch can impeach the president. Checks and balances over the judicial branch includes the legislative branch creates lower federal courts, it approves appointments of federal judges, and the legislative branch can impeach and remove judges. Let's cover the executive branch. Article 2 of the Constitution establishes the executive part of our government, which consists of the president, his or her advisors, and various departments and agencies. This branch is responsible for enforcing the laws of the land. The president is elected by the United States citizens 18 years of age and older who vote in the presidential elections in their states. These votes are tallied by states and form the electoral college system. States have the number of electoral votes which equal the number of senators and representatives they have. It is possible to have the most popular votes throughout the nation and not win the electoral vote of the Electoral College. Checks and balances over the legislative branch include the executive branch can call special sessions of Congress. The executive branch is responsible for negotiating foreign treaties, and the executive branch can propose new laws and veto laws that come from Congress. Checks and balances over the judicial branch include the executive branch appoints federal judges and can grant pardons to federal offenders. Let's cover the judicial branch. Article 3 of the Constitution establishes the judicial branch of our government, which includes the Supreme Court and 9 justices. They are special judges who interpret laws according to the Constitution. These justices only hear cases that pertain to issues related to the Constitution. They are the highest court in our country. The federal judicial system also has lower courts located in each state to hear cases involving federal issues. According to the Constitution, The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. Checks and balances over the legislative branch include: the judicial branch can declare laws established by the Congress unconstitutional. Checks and balances over the executive branch include: the judicial branch can declare executive actions unconstitutional. There are roles of a citizen in the United States. Citizens in the United States have many roles and responsibilities. Obligations such as staying informed, respecting and obeying federal, state, and local laws, as well as paying income taxes honestly and on time are just a few. But the three biggest roles of a citizen can play is practicing the right to vote, practicing their popular sovereignty, and practicing their civil liberties. The right to vote includes citizens of the United States age 18 or older have the right to vote in all elections. Various voting rights and acts, such as the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the Voting Accessibility for the Elderly and Handicapped Act, the Uniformed and Overseas Citizen Absentee Voting Act, and the Help America Vote Act of 2002 have eliminated most restrictions and limitations for citizens to be able to vote. These rights and acts have prohibited discriminations based on color, race, or minority groups, provided a law that required polling places to be easily accessible for people with disabilities, made it possible for the military to be able to vote despite the fact that they may be overseas, as well as help states have the funds to make voting quicker and easier. Popular sovereignty means the Merriam Dictionary's definition of popular sovereignty is a doctrine and political theory that government is created by and subject to the will of the people, and a pre-Civil War doctrine asserting the right of the people living in a newly organized territory to decide by vote if their territorial legislator whether or not slavery would be permitted there. Popular sovereignty is the concept that the citizens are the ultimate source of political power. It allows the people to have the power to govern and decide, so they have the ultimate authority. Civil liberties. Civil liberties gives individuals guaranteed freedom to people primarily by the Bill of Rights. Examples of the civil liberties found in the Bill of Rights are the freedom of speech, religion, press, as well as the right for people to peacefully assemble and the right to petition the government for amends of grievances. Amendment 1 gives individuals liberty from the actions of the government. Therefore, it places limitations on the power of the government. There are American linkage systems in the United States of America. A linkage institution is a structure within society that connects the people to the government or centralized authority. While not formally a part of the government, their presence is what makes political systems work. Linkage systems in the United States include political parties, interest groups, and the media. Political parties represent broad points of view that present the people with alternative approaches to how the government should be run. The United States is a two-party political system that has been dominated by the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Each party seeks political power by electing people to office, so its positions and philosophy become public policy. People then link to their government by identifying themselves as Democrats or Republicans or Reform Party members, for example. Interest groups organize people with common interests and attitudes to influence government to support their points of view. They generally represent only one issue or a closely related set of concerns. So, people can organize accordingly to their profession, business, corporation, or hobby, yet another way to link to their government. The media plays an important role in connecting people to government. Most of us find out about candidates for office, public officials' activities, and the burning issues of today through television, newspapers, radio, and the internet. The media's power to shape the American mind has often been criticized, but it also allows people to give feedback to the government. The United States is far too large as a country to operate effectively as a direct democracy. Even with elected representatives, it is still difficult for modern Americans to participate in their government in meaningful ways. Democracy still works partly because linkage institutions make important connections that allow the government to hear what its people are saying. In conclusion, the American government can be broken down and viewed in a much more complex manner. This presentation opens the door for a simple introduction of the basic layout and functions of today, with emphasis on the three branches of government, linkage systems within the government, and the role of the U.S. citizens. Thank you.